Welcome, dear students, to this new tutorial for our grammar class. Today we are going to study an interesting topic, which will be developed in this conversation. So please pay attention to the words in purple, so then you will have an idea of what we are going to study. Let's see. So, how was your first day at your new job? Well, my old job was much better than this job. Oh, really? What was your old job like? My old boss was nicer than my new boss. My office at my old job was more comfortable. My old job was easier than this job. Oh, I see. Well, I guess the grass is always greener on the other side. So, in this conversation, these two guys have used comparative adjectives. So, we use the comparative form of an adjective plus than to compare two people, two places, and two things. So, pay special attention to this important fact. Two, and only two people, places, or things will be compared by using these comparative adjectives. Let's see an example. My dad is stronger than your dad. You see, here we are comparing two dads. So, we use this comparative form. There are some simple rules in order to complete the form of the comparative adjectives. So, the first one applies for the adjectives that have one syllable. For those adjectives, we are going to add er to the form of the adjective. We only add er if the adjective ends in e. Remember, this rule applies for the adjectives that have one syllable. Let's see. For old, we add older, which is the comparative form. Serge's car is older than my car. Large ends with e, so we just add r. Larger. Olga's house is larger than my house. Another rule is applied to the adjectives that end in the consonant ny. So we are going to change the y to I, and we are going to add er. For example, busy, we change that y to I, and we have busier. Sarah is busier than John. And the third rule is for the adjectives that have two or more syllables. In this case, we are going to add more before the adjective. For example, intelligent has more than two syllables, so we add more. More intelligent will be the comparative form for this adjective. The student is more intelligent than the teacher. So let's practice a little bit with this picture. So you're going to write your own examples of these comparative adjectives. For example, if we have the adjective tall, the sentence will have the comparative form taller than. I am taller than George. Steve is taller than I am. You may use these adjectives: friendly, which comparative form is friendlier than; smart, smarter than; popular, more popular than; funny, funnier than; loud, louder than; outgoing, more outgoing than. I hope you write great sentences with these comparative adjectives. So let's move to study some exceptions that we may have with these comparative forms. The adjectives tired, bored, and fun are one-syllable adjectives, but they have a special rule. They follow the pattern of long adjectives, which means that we are going to add the word more to have the comparative form. Tired, more tired than. I am more tired than he is. The same happens with bored. The comparative will be bored, more bored than. I am more bored than he is. And with fun as well, more fun than. This is more fun than that is. Another exceptions are with the adjectives quiet and simple. These are two-syllable adjectives, but those follow the pattern of one-syllable adjectives. So we are going to have quite, quieter than. Our old neighbors were quieter than these new neighbors. Simple, simpler than. French was simpler than English. And remember, to make the opposite of more, we may use less. Sandra is more famous than Liliana. The contrary, Liliana is less famous than Sandra. Finally, I want to explain you some irregular forms that these three adjectives have: good, bad, and far. These adjectives do not follow any of the patterns that we have studied. In this case, we are going to use different form for the comparative adjectives. For example, for good we have better. My popcorn is good, but his popcorn is better. For bad, we have worse. My customer's hairstyle is bad. My customer's hairstyle is worse. And for far, we have farther. Denver, Colorado is far from San Francisco. Chicago, Illinois is even farther from San Francisco. We can also use much to make comparisons stronger, to emphasize a comparison that we are making. For example, my new boyfriend is much more handsome than my old boyfriend. We just add this much to the previous patterns that we have studied. Here I leave you some adjectives to practice these rules that we just studied. We have strict, nice, good, interesting, old, popular, and angry. You may write sentences such as, Teacher A is not as strict as Teacher B. Teacher B is stricter than Teacher A. Thank you for your attention.